You found your voice.
I did.
Because just imagine if we didn't have your voice out here doing what you do. Least among saints, the Obama effect. We will look for all of those things. Charles Dutton, we appreciate all that you do. You spent 7 years in prison.
More than 7. So 7.5 the last time. 12 all total.
12 total.
7.5 the last time. When you could get out of parole and make parole, and they had programs to help you. I went to college in prison. I got an associate arts degree, a 2-year degree in prison, while I was in the penitentiary. Then I said, well, why don't I incorporate something called From Jail to Yale, Serving Time on Stage, do a narrative of my life.
Charles S. Dutton has acted in Broadway plays, films, and television. He's recognizable for his roles in films such as A Time to and Rudy, and to say his rise to acting success was unique would be an understatement. If Dutton's origin story was ever made into a Hollywood script, he's already crafted the perfect tagline, From Jail to Yale.
I think I lost a lot of friends that spent time with me in prison at that time. And I thought of, how can I do a show to pay tribute to them? Genuine belly laughs I had in the penitentiary dealing with the characters that were in there, you know, and how we started a drama group in prison.
Interestingly, before Dutton's success on The Great White Way and Hollywood, he was a juvenile delinquent, in and out of reform school and correctional facilities since the age of 12. As a youth, he hung around the wrong crowd and dropped out of school before finishing middle school. By the time he was 26, Dutton had spent roughly 12 years of his life in a penitentiary for back-to-back convictions. So how did he go from a juvenile delinquent to a Hollywood theater legend? What happened to Charles S. Dutton while he was in jail? Let's get into it. A teenager living in Baltimore, Maryland in the 1960s, Dutton described himself this way: I enjoyed knocking the F out of people. I enjoyed violence. His nickname Rockhead was acquired from violent childhood rock fights which left his head battered and bleeding. When I was a kid, we had rock fights, Dutton explained. My gang would line up on one side of the street and another gang would line up on the other side and we'd let fly. I was always out front, leading the charge, and I got my head busted about twice a month. As a result, the guys started calling me Rockhead. Somewhere along the line, the head got dropped and it's been Rock ever since. When he began amateur boxing, the moniker was shortened to Rock, a nickname he still goes by. I was in the Black Panther Party in the 1960s, raised hell in the streets, he said. At 16, Dutton got into a fight with a man he said attacked him with a knife, stabbing him 7 times, and while wrestling the knife into his hands, Dutton stabbed back, leading the attacker to bleed out on the street. At 17, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 1967. After serving 2 years for manslaughter, Charles Dutton was released, only to be sent back to prison to serve 3 years more for a weapons charge. He wound up in the Maryland State Penitentiary building he used to see out his old bedroom window. Dutton's headstrong, violent, and rebellious nature followed him to his second sentence in prison. A self-proclaimed troublemaker, he fought guards and inmates with the boxing skills he gained in childhood. When a prison guard prevented Rock from seeing a visitor, things got physical. Bolstered by his childhood boxing experience, Dutton put up a challenge for a fair fight, and the two began to, as he describes it, have a wonderful, nice 10 minutes busting each other up in a locked room. According to the Washington Post, in a grim summary of the state of the U.S.'s judicial system, Dutton is quoted as saying, "I got 3 years for black man and 8 for punching a white man. 8 years was added to his prison sentence. Prison, Dutton said without a trace of irony, saved my life. At Maryland, ranked one of the toughest prisons in the nation, solitary confinement meant a 5 by 7 foot cell with a sink, but no bed and no commode. The latter consisted of a hole in the floor which Dutton said vindictive guards could back up at will, flooding the cell ankle deep in sewage. Prisoners locked therein were fed once every 3 days and were allowed 1 piece of reading material, though the only light by which to read was that which seeped under the door. In those days, inspired by the Black Panthers and convinced that the nation was on the brink of a bloody civil war, Dutton said he was a dedicated Marxist-Leninist. He had become an avid reader in prison, but he read only leftist literature. Then one day, he got into a fight with a prison guard and his reading habits as well as his life changed forever. As they hauled me off to isolation, I just grabbed a book from my cell without even looking at it, he said. The book Dutton got was not the Leninist tome he thought he was taking, but instead it was a book of plays, sent to him by a girlfriend on the outside. He had barely glanced at it, but for the next week, locked away in his tiny cell, it was to be his only companion. Dutton claimed he had never read a play but was mesmerized, especially by Day of Absence by Douglas Turner Ward, which is about the day all the blacks in a small southern town decided not to come to work, and the whites realized they couldn't live without them. It's played by a black cast in whiteface and it's hilarious. He read it over and over and told himself that when he got out of there, he was going to stage it. He enjoyed the plays so much that upon his release, he petitioned the warden to form a drama group. The warden agreed on the condition that Dutton finish his education and get his GED. I went and got the craziest guys in the prison to put on the prison talent show. I got the craziest knuckleheads, the biggest liars, the most demonstrative, funniest guys, he said with laughter. That's where he caught the acting bug. I found my humanity in that cell, and I was a changed man when I got out, Dutton said. The prison officials all thought I'd gone crazy, but they let me put on the play. And when I was up there delivering my lines, I looked out over that audience and they were rapt. This was a bunch of guys who wouldn't be rapt over anything, but I had united them, and a weird sense of power came over me. Suddenly, I knew what I was put on this earth to do. The experience transformed him. He told his pals he wouldn't be brawling with other convicts or picking fights with guards. He'd found his source of truth and passion, and a goal to pursue once he left prison. Diane Weaver was the first person who saw that I had talent, Dutton says. She sort of supervised the prison drama group after I started it. She supervised it and taught the acting class and wasn't timid about it either. Dutton wasted no time in continuing his education upon release from prison. He earned a bachelor's degree in theater arts from Towson State University and, urged by his drama coach, applied to Yale Drama School. To his everlasting surprise, he was accepted. The Ivy League launched Dutton onto Broadway, and Broadway launched him to Hollywood where he played the glib Leroy Brown in Crocodile Dundee 2, and a veteran cop in Sidney Lumet SQ&A. Dutton is aware of the media's fixation on his violent past, and said in a 2018 interview with All About Actors, "Right now it doesn't bother me." He seems to acknowledge that it's not every day there's a guy who's 7.5 years in a penitentiary goes to Yale and goes to Broadway. And not just goes to Broadway, but becomes an acclaimed actor. If Dutton has made a successful transition from stage to screen, he also has come a long way from the radical leftist leanings of his youth. Now, street smart and prison-wise, he conducts a one-man anti-crime campaign among inner-city kids from Harlem to his native Baltimore, and he holds some views that might shock fellow blacks and civil libertarians. Integration didn't work, he said. Integration ultimately spelled disintegration. Before integration, every black community had its professionals that kids could emulate. The doctor, the lawyer, the pharmacist. When integration came, they all left. Now the pusher, he didn't leave. That was his area of operation. So the pusher and the thug became the only role models for black kids. Dutton at least offers a replacement for some of those professionals who fled their old neighborhoods. He, after all, is a star. The guy who came from prison to the top of the Hollywood heap. If any of the kids now prison-bound but audiences for rock can emulate that, there may be hope after all. The Pan-African Film Festival also honored Charles Dutton with Lifetime Achievement Award at the festival's annual Night of Tribute Awards ceremony. For the second year, the Night of Tribute was a part of the pre-show festivities for the awards ceremony of the African American Film Critics Association in 2014. Dutton, who is a two-time Tony-nominated and multiple Emmy Award-winning actor and director of stage, television, and film, first became a familiar face to television audiences around the world for his iconic role as the Baltimore garbage collector, Rock Emerson, on the popular Fox comedy produced by HBO Rock, which aired for 3 seasons from 1991 to 1994. For the role of Rock, Dutton earned his first NAACP Image Award, followed by 2 more wins in 2002 and 2003 for his roles in the television movies 10,000 Black Men Named George and DC Sniper 23 Days of Fear, respectively. Dutton made his Broadway debut in 1984 with August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, winning him a Theatre World Award and a Best Actor Tony Award nomination. 6 years later, he received another Tony Award nod for Best Actor in August Wilson's The Piano Lesson before heading off to Hollywood, landing more television roles and collecting acting accolades along the way. In 1999, Dutton received both Emmy and NAACP Image Award nominations for his guest starring role as Alva Case on the HBO hit prison drama, Oz. A year later, he directed the critically acclaimed and gritty HBO miniseries, The Corner. The Corner won several Emmys, including Outstanding Miniseries miniseries and outstanding writing for a miniseries or a movie. Dutton also picked up an Emmy Award for outstanding directing for a miniseries, movie, or a special. As the Yale-trained actor continued to show the range of his acting abilities, the nominations and awards just kept on coming. He won back-to-back Emmy Awards in 2002 and 2003 for Outstanding Guest Actor for his roles in The Practice and Without a Trace, respectively. In an exclusive phone interview discussing his career and his then project, The Obama Effect, Dutton said, "I have been blessed to eke out a career in this industry, a career that I've tried all of these years to control, dictate, and choose the kind of material that I want to do, and so far I've been able to do that." Dutton's unique experiences prior to becoming an actor have helped him stay grounded. "I didn't start off as, the average person coming into Hollywood. I spent my life as an outlaw many years before any of that Hollywood stuff happened. So I had already had a sense, a worldview," said the Baltimore native. "I was always concerned with 10 years after a show is off the air and a rerun comes on and you're with your family and your children are older and you look at yourself on television and you're embarrassed by it. I had already seen enough shows that I was embarrassed by and I wasn't even in them," he continued with a laugh. "I never wanted that to happen to me. I wanted to be able to sit back 10 years later and say, that was a good show." Dutton brought all his experiences to his project, The Obama Effect, which he wrote, directed, and starred in. He and Barry Hankerson united to produce the film that took a satirical look at the 2008 election. "It's an interesting storyline that captures the fervor which helped elect Barack Obama to the White House," he said. Dutton insisted on choosing his cast. "I didn't want this show to be a negative image of black people internationally. I wanted to project an image of strength, intelligence, and heart, and also a warrior-like image. This family didn't take no crap and they were concerned about their community," he said. While Dutton expressed his love for President Obama, he had some hard questions that needed to be answered by not only President Obama but the Democratic Party. "The vehement reaction to President Obama is because of who he is and not because of policy," he said. But despite that right-wing Tea Party and racist opposition, Dutton believed President Obama and the Democrats needed to step up to the plate and get things done for the American people. Now are the Democrats to blame? Absolutely. They had 2 years to push their policies and programs. They had 2 years of controlling the House of Representatives, but they did nothing for 2 years, he said. So this film was not a promotional movie that encouraged people to vote for President Obama in the then upcoming election, but Dutton expected it to rekindle all of the passion and euphoria that occurred during the 2008 election. It's not your average everyday straightforward film. There are lots of great cinematic ideas, lots of great storytelling about getting one's own health together, the importance of family, and how much politics affects our lives, he explained. In The Obama Effect, a serious health scare inspires John Thomas, an insurance salesman in his 50s played by Dutton, to take a closer look at his life. Motivated by a misguided obsession with getting Barack Obama elected, John takes on overwhelming involvement in the presidential campaign. While John becomes obsessed with the ideal of change that Obama represents for Americans, he has neglected to create positive change in his own life, particularly with regard to his health and familial relationships. Also in the film is Vanessa Bell Calloway, Cat Williams, Wesley Jonathan, Megan Good, and Glynn Turman. In the film, John hides his health problems from his strong yet supportive wife Molly, played by Vanessa Bell Calloway, creating a strain on their marriage. John then seeks the support of a Republican relative, MLK, played by Cat Williams, who initially starkly resists supporting a Democratic candidate. John's son, Khalil, played by Wesley Jonathan, rebels against his father's avid support of Obama by supporting the Republican candidate as well. Ultimately, Dutton expected the film to both entertain and make people think. The movie is about looking at the situation then, in 2008, and now, and making an intelligent decision. Charles S. Dutton is the sort of actor who elevates every production he joins, whether award-winning plays such as August Wilson's The Piano Lesson, or inspirational sports movies such as The Express. So it's not surprising that Dutton was the first thing MGM wanted the audience to see and hear in the 20-minute sizzle reel that the studio had put together to promote the remake of its 1980 hit Fame, showing at Royal Park and Gator Cinemas in Gainesville. Charles Dutton was also once interviewed in the audition rooms of New York City's School of the Performing Arts, where Dutton, as an acting teacher, was calling the shots with calm authority. "We have seen 150 students today, and they all swear they have a special gift to offer this school," Dutton told an appealing, trembling teenage girl. "Do you have a special gift?" To another, more robust young woman, he laughed and said, "You're fearless." "Some say annoying," she replied. "You know, it's possible to be both," said Dutton, beaming back. Cynics feared that Dutton, who built his reputation with a string of Wilson plays and groundbreaking TV series such as The Corner, which he directed, and Rock, would make the film Fame as a career move to bring him younger fans and a wider audience. But on the phone from his farm in Howard County, Emsdia, Dutton said he only took films that moved him. "The fun in this film," he said, "was the chance to put on screen the motivational aspect of teaching acting." Asked whether his scenes in the film resemble moments from his own career and life, he laughed and said, "I couldn't get around that fact if I tried or wanted to." Playing the drama coach in Fame allowed him to pay tribute, sometimes humorously, to his prison warden Diana Weaver and his other celebrated mentors, including Earl Gister and Lloyd Richards at the Yale School of Drama. "All the acting teachers I ever had," he said, "were halfway between drill sergeants and tyrants." When Dutton accepted the part in Fame, he hoped he could concentrate on qualities not reflected in the title. Fame and fortune are icing on the cake. An artist should go into something with a sense of purpose, so that somehow, through the work, you can advance civilization. What he hoped to convey to the young actors he tutored in Fame, as well as the ones he mentors in real life, was that an artist has got to be fearless, absolutely fearless, whether they are a dancer making a leap or a singer trying to hit that very difficult high note. They have to live dangerously as an artist. That's what he was taught and what he wanted to convey in his character. Dutton said it had become harder in recent years to convince young people of the sweat and seriousness that should go into acting. Everyone thinks they can do it. Every rapper, singer, or sports personality. "Oh, I can be in that movie. Oh, I can act." What he wanted the kids in and out of Fame to know was that acting is like digging ditches for a living. It's hard work. And for the serious block of students, it's a craft. A craft that Dutton feels they can best learn in the theater, not the movie studio. What do you think of Charles reforming himself from a juvenile delinquent to famous Hollywood star? Tell us in the comments section. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.